What did you think? Honest opinions.
It just to see all the representation that was in there just like made me very delighted, and it was.
You're listening to the MCSFO podcast, where we speak one language, sci-fi. All right, this is MCSFO just coming out of the screening for Dungeons and Dragons, Honor of Thieves. And ladies, what did you think? Honest opinions.
I honestly wasn't sure what to think when I went into it, because I know like a decent amount of the D&D source material, all that kind of stuff. This is like shameful to admit. But I wasn't sure how accurate it would be to the content. I was really pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of references in there that I think will make anyone who's like, whether they're really, really into D&D or they're like first getting into it or they just enjoy like podcasts and stuff. I think the amount of references in there and the care put to like really think about the source material or refer back to it will make honestly like anyone happy.
Really? Okay, so that means a lot because you're a D&D fan. So
yeah.
If we can please the fans, that means a lot. What about the inclusion, I should say, with this type of story where, we may not have seen 10, maybe 5 years ago, the inclusion of all the different characters and...
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I have never... Because, right, like, I watch a lot of, like, fantasy and science fiction stuff. I have never seen a cast, like, so balanced. It was wonderful to see. It made me so happy. Like, just to see all the representation that was in there just, like, made me very delighted. And it was a good, like, sign of the progress that we've really made in this community in developing these films. So it was really nice to see.
I agree. I totally agree. All right, so what did you think of this great movie?
I absolutely loved it. The thing about Dungeons and Dragons, being one of those people who was playing this, from 10 to 12 for hours and hours on a Saturday, a movie like this flies me right back into that library with my 4 best friends for hours at a time when I'm 12 years old. I loved it. It very much is Lord of the Rings meets a good stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. It was funny. It didn't take itself seriously. Mm-hmm. That's what I think this kind of, let's call it what it is, this kind of storytelling needs. If you're going to tell, the Tolkien stories, you have to take that seriously. You have to have a reverence for the source material. Mm-hmm. If you're going to take a board game made by Hasbro and make, an hour and a half, 2-hour movie out of it, you better come at it with some humor, because the other iterations were just boring. Mm-hmm. And this was lively and fun. This was just plain old fun.
It almost seemed like it's like the Lord of the Rings meets Guardians of the Galaxy. Exactly,
and that's the thing. One of the things, if we, as movie makers or people in the entertainment industry, took anything from Peter Jackson's storytelling, what we learned is it's better to do stuff as practically as possible so that you can give the audience a tangible world to want to inhabit. Yeah, we don't live where there's dragons, we don't live where there's sorcerers, but that's a real human being in a real glen, on a real mountain cliff.
Right.
It makes it more plausible.
Yes.
When it's all just, that's clearly an actor standing in front of a green screen, you're asking almost a little too much of the imagination. Right. This, they clearly took that Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings kind of motif of storytelling and made it more tangible, which makes definitely the jokes land a lot more, but also makes the visuals more fun,
right?
Easier to accept. Are there eagle bears? No, but when you see see one interacting with a human being on a real, tangible, location, it makes sense, and it makes it more fun.
Yes, I can't wait to see all the different cosplay costumes out of this movie alone now.
Dragon Con's going to have a ball with this.
Yes, I can't wait. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This was awesome. What did y'all think of Dungeons and Dragons, Honor of Thieves, the first real Dungeons and Dragons movie?
I think it was a lot of fun, and it was one of those movies where if you're in the know, there's lots of hidden gems, but even if you're not in the know, you can still really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. So I take it you've been playing D&D for a while?
I've never directly played, but I've sat in on a lot of matches, and I'm very aware of the mythology around it, and it was a lot of fun. It's a really good ride. Again, even if you're not like an avid player, you can still really get a lot out of it and a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Nice. And yourself?
I loved it. I thought it was something that a D&D movie should be, which is something that doesn't take itself seriously and has that ragtag group of players that just never gets it right until they have to.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I totally agree with both of what they said. We got to see some spells, like, from the cards. You can see exactly how they illustrated them, and, like, that was kind of amazing just to see, like, the specific spell and know that's what they're doing, even if they don't call it out or whatever. If you have that knowledge of being like, I got it, I know what that is, I know what that monster is, just from seeing.
Do you think people who don't know anything about D&D may want to play the game? Do you think this will entice people to want to play it, you think?
I feel like we're at a point in time where there are a lot of things that are D&D oriented that are really drawing people towards the game, like Stranger Things, especially. And I think with this movie, because I think it's good for fans and non-fans, you know, it's something that non-fans could look at and be like, oh, well, that's fun.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It might, even if they don't directly want to play the game, they'll be more knowledgeable of it and maybe enjoy other people's fandom of it as much. So it might, not necessarily bring them into the fold, but give them an appreciation of the fandom and the stories.
Sorry. Was there anything with the game that surprised you with the movie version at all? Like in your imagination and what you normally see in the game? Is there any surprises, anything where you were just like pleasantly surprised to see how it played out on screen?
Sure, yeah. The him having to attune to the helmet, that's such a very specific, like, mechanical thing that you have to do in the game that I feel like doesn't get a lot of attention, and then him having to deal with the tuning over and over and over again, and it being like a self-quest was really cool. I didn't foresee that happening in the movie.
I really enjoyed them really leaning into all the different archetypes, but then also just ever so slightly subverting them. Just enough to keep it interesting. Like, just enough of a twist that you're like, oh, that's fun. Like,
what do you think?
Giving too much away.
What do you think they can do with a sequel? How far do you think they can take this? As far as
That's the great thing about D&D. As long as there's monsters, there's another adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how they do it in podcasts and stuff? They take the same people and just put them on another quest. That could be something that we could see in the future.
There's always another dungeon to loot, and there's always another monster to kill. So,
Relics to find.
Yeah, got it. Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, what did you think?
I really liked it. I thought it was the perfect balance of like kind of heartfelt, but also like really funny. I mean, there were a lot of good bits in there.
Absolutely. Any favorite scenes?
The one with there's two for me. There's the one with the bard, how he comes up and then the illusion starts breaking and skipping. And then that final bit at the end with Doric and the owl as the owl bear.
I did enjoy Doric just slamming the wizard into the stone repeatedly. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of Loki and the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
I think you got him. Bam.
Exactly. What did you think of the special effects?
They were pretty good, actually.
They were honestly seamless. I really enjoyed them.
Very nice.
And they weren't overdone too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They
still had that level of mystical.
Yeah.
Not like uncanny valley.
No, definitely. They weren't just like doing stuff to do it. They were doing it all to tie into the story and really enhance what they were trying to tell.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one thing I thought about, I like the setup. I like the way he explained things in the beginning, because someone like me who didn't grow up, or never really played the game, don't know the world, you can easily follow it out, no problem at all. He set the story up. It was kind of, it had me in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Even when it slowed down, you had like a small, a little bit of, I was still all in, and it just was a roller coaster ride throughout the whole thing. So they did a really good balance of that. That was important.
One can argue, and this is something that I felt like when you look at Chris Nolan's Batman movies, when you look at Bryan Singer's first X-Men movies, when you look at granted we're talking a larger than life, no one was thinking about let's make a Batman movie and we'll figure out the story later. It's like, let's get a good script, let's get a good story, and let's get a good writer to help tell the story. There's clearly time and definitely reverence spent writing this script, and I think that's.
Oh, what about the casting?
I love the casting. First of all,
surprisingly, it worked. I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Everyone will gel together on that.
And the thing is, again, other iterations, very white, kind of, bland. I mean, nothing against, Thora Birch and Jeremy Irons, but The whole cast just seemed really white and just sort of vanilla. And I'm not saying that sort of like, you know, as a white man, that, well, these are just people that look like me. I'm just saying the casting was just very bland, but it also went along with a very bland kind of script. This, because I think they were approaching it with everybody should get this joke. So let's have everybody in the
Nice.
Yeah. Multi-ethnic, multi-age. Hugh Grant could have easily been replaced with, you know, Jonathan Majors, somebody 40 years younger, somebody much sexier. It's like, no, let's go with an older guy. Let's go with an older English guy, so we can play upon that old villain stereotype. And Michelle Rodriguez could have been like, you know, Zoe Saldana or somebody, you know, in their 30s who's younger and sexier. It's like, no. Let's pull somebody who's got kind of an edgy quality about them away from all this and bring that into the character. I thought that was very smart.
Right.
I think casting was fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree. The casting was definitely, and I call him Mr. Page. The sexy dude shows up with his shirt partly opened, and he just comes in there and wrecks and kicks butt. I love the fact that he didn't stay in it. I think, and don't get me wrong, I know that they follow the actual storyline, because I don't know too much about Dungeons & Dragons, the storyline, but I don't know if he does that, if that's his character, like he comes in and then he leaves out, but I don't know if they followed that or if that was just their idea to do that for the movie, but I loved it because he seemed like this hero that swoops in, you know, and then he's on his way, but he may come back in at any point, and I actually really loved that about his character, that they did that.
When we used to play Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, the one cat who would regularly DM for us, be the dungeon master, would introduce and take away characters like that, where you know, our party couldn't have gotten through this, or we were, you know, getting our tails beat, except for this character comes in, kind of gives us a helping hand, and we're all going to do it, and then that character goes away with the idea it's like, this character, this dungeon that I've created, none of you were meant to get through it alone. So I brought in this character, that character served that purpose, and now they're gone. Same thing here. This guy is sort of clearly the Superman amongst humans. Nothing's going to kill him. He's going to be able to take care of everything. Well, if he can take care of anything, then just like Michelle Rodriguez's character said, well, just magic it away. Just magic it across. If that character was so unstoppable, the audience would be saying, well, just put it all on his shoulders. So
Right.
You gotta take him away.
Right, gotta take him
He's
away.
only there for a little bit to help you.
out. Gotcha.
And then go away.
I love that. I love that. I totally love that about them.
Again, it goes back to a very well-written script, a very smart script in terms of, if you're going to take, you know, E.T. didn't really fly across the moon. If you're going to look at this with a serious logical sense, you're going to hate the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you accept, you know, the plausible reality of the world, there aren't really holes in it, and the holes can easily be filled with the characters that they created, which is how I chose to watch it. So I dug it. I really like the way that it was written.
Yeah, they did. Like I said, I can't wait to watch it again. So thank you. This concludes our show for today. But if this is your first time visiting, then welcome aboard. The Multicultural Sci-Fi Organization, or MCSFO for short, markets, promotes, discusses, and educates in the medium of science fiction and technology with a unique focus from an international perspective. We promote diversity and inclusion in the sci-fi, fantasy, and comic book genres. We would love to hear what you guys think about today's topic, or if you just want to chime in, you can post your comments below. And for more videos, hit the subscribe button.